Welcome back. The Healthy Living Alliance has welcomed regulations around food labelling. It's urged South Africans also to comment on the draft regulations that were gazetted by the Department of Health in January. If accepted, the regulations propose things like warnings on unhealthy foods. Let's speak to HEALA from the Healthy Living Alliance, the Programmes Manager, Nzama Mbalati. Thank you for being with us. Mr. Mbalati, just tell us what exactly will change if the regulations come into effect.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. So if the regulation was to change, what we'll see basically is a front of pack warning label on food that is high on salt, sugar, and fat. Currently, the profile model on the nutrient profile model on food is at the back of the package, and it's written in a very technical language. So it has sodium, it has calcium, and many people do not understand that actually sodium is salt, energy and all that. So the regulation, similar to tobacco, it will be easy to raise awareness in people in terms of unhealthy food, and as well South Africa will have got to a juncture where it's defining what is healthy and unhealthy food.
And is there a threshold? I mean, something that is 20% sugar is different from something that's 0.05% sugar.
Yes, there's a threshold. So each ingredient that is unhealthy, so the biggest problem in the food that is unhealthy is salt, sugar, and fat. So, for example, the regulation is proposing a 500 milligram of sugar to be actually labeled as unhealthy in a packaged food or sugar sweetened by beverage or cold drink or juice. So in each, there is a threshold, and this is good because it will encourage food manufacturers and food producers to actually reduce this unhealthy product and reformulate the product to make them less harmful or less of the harmful effects that can cause obesity and associated non-communicable disease.
And do you think it will change consumer behavior fundamentally? I mean, anybody going to collect a can of Coke or pick up some chips or sweets in a store must know by now that those are unhealthy things, but we all do it anyway.
Yeah, so I think there are two things that are important in the regulation in terms of if you regulate the food environment, you are actually creating an opportunity for a healthier food options. Number two, in terms of raising awareness, many people, like I have said initially, people who actually smoke tobacco, they know the risk associated with tobacco. You don't have to smoke when you're pregnant and so on. But there are many people who aren't actually aware in terms of what is the risk associated with unhealthy food. But we do understand that people do purchase food based on accessibility, affordability, and availability. But again, we will have to press more for government actually to make healthier options. And if we can look at much more broader issues in terms of maybe looking at even taxation on this unhealthy product and incentivize unhealthy food. We have been calling for actual government and national treasury to actually subsidize, zero rate some of the staple food that are healthy, so that people can actually afford and actually choose healthier options.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. If you make some more expensive or you try and deter people from buying those goods, then surely the education needs to come in about what food can be a substitute and can be healthier. In relation to this interview, I was just looking at the effects of childhood obesity, how that is rising in South Africa. And it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, you would know more, but it seems like a lot of parents just don't know what food is good to give their children.
No, certainly. So we have seen, particularly also because most of the unhealthy food or ultra-processed food is actually cheaper. So you can get actually a packet of snacks at 2 rand, right? So parents look at those cheaper options to package on the lunchbox. But what we have been saying actually is we have to be intentional. We need to build up awareness and education on nutrition literacy, and actually ensure that people can actually understand the basic within the food that we have. I come from Limpopo. We have a lot of fruits and vegetables. How do you prepare food? How are some of the things that we can do actually to make sure that, people can understand the recipe? How can you actually, within the food you have in terms of preparation, we understand there's load shedding as well in terms of the challenges that people have in terms of preparing food. So I think the bottom line and the point you have raised is we need to galvanize society, we need to raise awareness, we need to educate people more, but we need to regulate the unhealthy food environment. We need to ensure that when you get to the store, when you're buying food, when you get off the aisle, you don't have to find sweets. So there are many practical ways in which we can remove some of the unhealthy food access to people. And particularly if you're going through the aisle paying, your child will cry because there are sweets there and chocolates there, and you can't pass without paying. So there is a way in which the food industry and the supermarkets have designed so that it's actually propel us into actually swaying towards actually eating unhealthy food. So it's important that we can work on that. And the regulation is one of those, and looking at practical ways in which we can support communities, educate communities to actually eat healthy.
Sure, and I understand one of the retailers changed that policy because of community pressure. So it's so important. Very quickly, you're saying that people should comment on these regulations. So go and put your name down to support it?
Yes, go put your name to support it. You can go to HEALA website. It's www.heala, HEALA is HEALA.org. We have actually already summarized for people to actually click and say, we support this regulation. And HEALA, as technical experts, we have actually summarized and actually break down in an easy way for communities to understand, to actually sign in. We're going into 38 districts as Healthy Living Alliance across 8 provinces in South Africa to actually engage communities, to get communities involved, because the policy without people wouldn't work. So that's what we are actually encouraging people who live in South Africa to do.
All right, thank you so much for your time. That was HEALA Programmes Manager Nzama Mbalati.